What's going on, Whisper Nation? Johnny Game Time Hicks here with Big Travy and the woman behind the mirror, Chelsea Lee Byers. And we are talking wide receivers in the 2019 NFL Draft right here on the Fantasy Whispers.
It's Monday, April 15th, and you are listening to the Fantasy Whispers with your host, Johnny Game Time Hicks and Big Travy. And I'm Chelsea.
How's it going? How we're back in the lab recording an awesome episode. We got some big fun things going on today, Travis. We're adding a little bit of Game of Thrones. It's coming out. It's going to sweep the nation. Winter has come.
Yes, winter is here. The chase for the Iron Throne is on, and you're talking about big fun things, Johnny. Unlike our running back episodes, I'm actually really excited about these wide receivers. I think that's where the talent is in the pool as far as the skill positions this year in the NFL Draft. So give me some big, fast wide receivers. I want to start digging through them. And then, of course, as you said, ending the show on a great note. As we record this today is Game of Thrones premiere, and you guys will be listening.
Buddy. We'll just give them a little preview. We don't want to give them too much right now.
Don't break them off everything.
All right. Well, before we get into today's show, I always like to say thank you to Whisper Nation. And if you're worried and you're like, I want to be a part of Whisper Nation, I'm not a part of Whisper Nation yet. You can certainly join us. We make shows all the time. We put them on YouTube, so head on over to YouTube. Just search the Fantasy Whispers. Also, check out our Instagram page. Big Travy works really hard on that, puts out some really awesome graphics over there. Slide into those DMs. We're always trying to look to reach out to the community, bring you guys on, get on other people's stuff just to spread this fiend of fantasy football, Travis. You've been all over the place, man, killing it. And so if you follow us on those platforms, you'll know we always post when we're about to go live, when we're going on other shows. So please follow us and be a part of Whisper Nation's community. Just search the Fantasy Whispers or go to thefantasywhispers.com and you can find all of our articles there. Sorry?
I said, come one, come all.
Exactly.
Everybody's welcome in the Whisper Nation.
All right, Travis, we will start off this show with a guy who's there's two sides of the story, two sides of the coin here. You're either pro or you're against, and that's DK Metcalf out of Ole Miss, 6'3", 228 pounds. This guy, not a lot of hype coming out of college, but then he hit the combine, and Travis, his stock just exploded due to his 4.33 40 time, Travis, and his monster bench of 27 bench presses. You have a different point of view for DK Metcalf, so I want to let you go. You spill what you're, creating in your lab, what you're seeing when the game film, and let Whisper Nation know exactly what you think of DK Metcalf.
Well, listen, it's hard to argue the talent. You said it, Johnny. 4.33 40, 27 bench. He's got a 40.5 vertical. A lot of people want to compare this guy to Julio Jones. Like, that's the comps he's getting because of their similar combines. That's not a comp that works for me. You look at what Julio was able to do. His route tree is way more extensive than DK Metcalf. He is more skilled as far as footwork. And then you look at the other comps that are coming out. One was Josh Gordon, and that one actually really interested me because Josh Gordon was a straight line guy that could burn your defense and just take the top off right away. I think DK Metcalf can do that. But I think similar to Josh Gordon, DK Metcalf is all going to be about dedication to the craft. It's going to be about his work ethic. It's going to be about if he's willing to learn and change and adapt with the offense. He had a drop rate, Johnny, of 10.3% that was ranked 31st in the nation. He only had 6 catches of 20-plus yards. That also ranked 63rd in the nation. So you're looking at a guy that, needs some work. He's going to be a little bit raw. He's going to need to come in and he's going to need to work on all the things that make a wide receiver good in the NFL. And that doesn't just come from running really fast and beating defenses.
Yeah, I mean, of course you're going to everyone wants to point out the fact that he only had, so many passes over 20 yards, but you have to look at what kind of offense this guy was on in college. First of all, he only played in 7 games because he had a serious neck injury that kept him out the majority of last season. But Travis, in those 7 games that he played, he recorded 5 touchdowns. He had 40. He only had 40 targets. You're telling me a guy who's 6'3", 228 pounds can't garnish more than 40 targets in an offense? That's not a player. To me, that's scheme. And when you look at the scheme that he was in with one of the best wide receiver classes in the nation. And we're going to talk about one of his teammates a little bit later on in the show, and A.J. Brown. And so for me, Travis, and then you look at his third other option over there at Ole Miss, and you have DeMarcus Lodge. So you had 3 solid wide receivers over in playing for Ole Miss. The quarterback was not one of the best quarterbacks in the nation, and so he had struggled to get him the ball. This definitely depends. If he goes, my favorite landing spot would be New England Patriots. Why? Because Bill Belichick knows how to use his players, and he will put DK in the right position to succeed. Okay, he's not good at the 20 shuttle or the 3-cone. People want to argue that. The guy slipped on the 3-cone drill. And if you say that, he slipped, he had a 7.4, I believe, on the 3-cone drill. Larry Fitzgerald only had a 6.9. So nobody had questions about Larry Fitzgerald coming out of college on he's not that fast, he's not so agile. There was none of that question. So for me,
but I mean, Fitzgerald's had extensive work. He had a catalog of work. We knew what he was. We'd seen a lot of games.
Correct.
When you look at a guy that doesn't have a lot of game tape, you want him to wow you in the combine, which Metcalf did. Like, I don't want to nitpick the little things that he did wrong.
1.6% body fat.
Yes. Well, listen, that could be your summer goals right there. # fitness goals. But
I don't even know how that's possible.
He's a beast, dude. He's a robot. I don't get it. But yeah, for me, Metcalf, at what point are we just making a bunch of excuses up of why he wasn't this or that? I want to see him get into the NFL, Johnny. I think you said New England. I love that fit. Indianapolis is another fit I like because he's kind of a guy that can, and T.Y. Hilton isn't that straight line guy all the time. T.Y. Hilton's more of the underneath possession receiver sometimes. So I kind of see DK meshing well there. But I think it's going to have to be system specific, and he gets in somewhere like kind of what happened to Sammy in Buffalo. He got in and had to be the guy, and I think if that kind of happens to Metcalf and he has to be the number 1, he could be in trouble.
Well, Buffalo is definitely an interesting landing spot, right? They have a high draft pick and in need of wide receiver depth there. I like that. You have a quarterback who can launch the ball 80 yards in the air, so that's kind of perfect for him. The other things that I like about him, Travis, are he comes from a family of NFL players. And so his dad was an NFL player. His uncle was an NFL player. It runs in his blood. You talked about him if he's willing to get in there and grind. He's already a beast in the weight room. He loves doing that. He's a gym rat. So I think that can translate over into onto the field. He'll continue to work on that. He needs to work on blocking. My biggest comp for him is actually Terrell Owens. I think that's the best comp for him. You looked at Terrell Owens, was a very good go wide receiver. He had a lot of problems with drops. If you remember that, he would get break the corner and then look for a touchdown, and then he just drops. He gets a case of the drops. So I think DK Metcalf could be like Terrell Owens. Terrell Owens is just inducted into the Hall of Fame. So I think this guy can be productive. You have to take his skill set for what it is and play to that skill set. So for me, I like DK Metcalf. I'm on his bandwagon. I'm probably leading his bandwagon, by the way.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about the next guy, Johnny. Let's let the Whisper Nation know who we're talking about next. I believe it's our our guy Marquise Brown out of Oklahoma. That guy's coming in at 5'9", 166 pounds. Johnny, this guy is a speedster, a speed demon. Talk to me a little bit about Marquise Brown.
All right, first off, you forgot to mention his nickname. It's Marquise Hollywood Brown.
That's right.
And it's not due to California Hollywood. It is due to the fact that he is from Hollywood, Florida. So he's repping that. He's got that going for him. He is the cousin of star diva wide receiver Antonio Brown, who just got traded to the Oakland Raiders. And a couple of interesting things there. He is actually tied as one of the mock drafts that I've seen, or a couple of them have him actually going to Oakland, which I don't think I like that fit too much. But Travis, you're looking.
They just signed Tyrell. That would kind of be an interesting.
Yeah, I'm not buying it too much on the Oakland side. I'm not seeing it. This guy played 12 games last year, and he recorded 1,318 receiving yards. He did that on 75 receptions, Travis, where he had 140 targets and 10 touchdowns. That's a very nice 17.6 yards per reception. Excuse me. He also had 26% of his team's market share, which you like that. Coming into the NFL, you know that he can handle the workload. He was the main wide receiver for Oklahoma. He's a natural route runner. He makes defenses miss because he's so fast. One concern that I have, Travis, is he has a Liz Frank injury right now, and they're saying he'll be ready to go by training camp, but we didn't get to see him at the combine, and he was, raving about how he really thought he could contend for the all-time record with John Ross with the 4.2 40 time. He says he can beat it. That'll be interesting. A lot of people want to knock his size, 5'9", 166 pounds. But this guy has already gained weight coming from high school into college. He weighed even less, and he put on weight, and he says he's going to continue to put on weight. He wants to get around 175. This really makes me want to think of John Brown. I don't believe there's any correlation there, but John Brown, he reminds me a lot of him, who is very, very fast, runs a lot of goes, and gets a lot of pass interference calls. So I think that's what Marquise Brown can do for you. He's got it in his DNA to be a very talented wide receiver. But Travis, I know you have some concerns with Marquise Brown, and let Whisper Nation know what those concerns are, and how concerned are you for dynasty format for Marquise Brown?
Yeah, so I'll just start with the goods, right? You mentioned a lot of the goods too. You look at NFL.com, and even Matt Miller of Bleacher Report are calling this guy comparable to Deshaun Jackson. That's a great NFL comp for a burner. You want to be a guy that's electric like Deshaun Jackson if you're that prototypical wide receiver. He was ranked in the top 5 for Pro Football Focus's yards per route run and deep pass yards. So we're talking about a guy that really made his money in the deep ball. You talked about the missed combine. You talked about his size. And for me, only 5'9" and 166 and being an injury-prone receiver means you're a small guy that gets hurt. Are you going to continue to get hurt by being small? Like is that the story of your career? You talk about Deshaun Jackson or maybe a Tyreek Hill, these smaller, freakish wide receivers. Both those guys, Deshaun Jackson was 6 foot even, 178 pounds at the time of the draft. Tyreek Hill was 5'10", 185 at the time of the draft. So these are guys that are taller and bigger than him when they came in, and they weren't injury prone coming in. So obviously these are, you want to be compared to these guys. They're more at the top of their position. But I like the John Brown comp. I think what you've got there is a guy that, John Brown would probably be a lot more productive in the NFL without the sickle cell trait, right?
Right,
so
right. Mm-hmm.
We don't know anything about that for Marquise Brown, so I would say that maybe a great comp with an opportunity to supersede John Brown's ceiling thus far in the NFL.
Listen, I'm gonna throw this out there right now for Marquise Brown. Marquise Brown, hit me up on Twitter at John Hicks 33. Bro, I will get you up in weight in no time. I'll get you on that Go Mad diet. That's right.
You're going to put him on the DK Metcalf diet?
No, I'm going to put him on the Go Mad diet, the gallon of whole milk a day diet, along with the regular food. Bro, you'll be getting. I put on
Oreos?
No, dude. I did it coming out of
Oreos.
I did it out of college.
This is not FDA approved. Do not listen to Johnny.
No.
He-
I'll tell you from experience, it is a surefire way to gain weight. I came out of college weighing
I'm not
130.
even sure you can physically drink a gallon of milk a day. Like, I don't think I think your body will reject it.
No, I did it.
babies.
I did it for 2 months, and I went from 130 to 155 in 2 months. I'm telling you, a gallon of whole milk is 2,500 calories, and then you eat your normal diet along with that. You'll put on. Whoa!
As much as I'd love to let you keep going on the fitness podcast, Johnny,
Telling you.
we gotta roll along here. So tell the Whisper Nation who we're talking about next.
All right, I mentioned him earlier in this show. He is the star wide receiver on the opposite side of DK Metcalf, the one who's hogging all the targets. AJ Brown, he is 6'0", 226 pounds. Travis, I know you're really excited about this guy, so I'm going to let you jump in here first before I kind of come in with a little not so good of news.
Yeah, I know you want to take the thunder away from my guy here, but as Whisper Nation knows, last year my bromance of the year was Juju Smith-Schuster,
That was
and
very
we all
good.
saw Juju Smith-Schuster dominate. I love the comp here for AJ Brown to Juju Smith-Schuster because you're looking at a guy in AJ Brown that is talented from the slot. He had 800 slot yards last year, which ranked 13th in the nation. But the big thing, Johnny, here is we talked about it last week with the running backs. The one truth in all of this when you're dissecting college players is the game film. And when I watch this guy on film, Johnny, he's always in the right spot. He tracks the ball well. He has great stop-start ability, very deceptive speed. I just think that he's got it all. I saw him scoring a lot of touchdowns for Ole Miss last year. You can knock the speed if you want, but he's crafty, and he's going to get open that way. And even without that top-end speed that I know Johnny's going to knock down here in a couple seconds, he was 26th in deep ball receptions with 10 and 27th with deep pass yards with 387. So the guy can do it all. He's well-rounded. I think that given getting in the right system, you put this guy in New England, like we talked about, you put this guy with Indy, you put him with I think even Oakland would be a good spot, pair him up with AB. I really like AJ Brown.
All right, so for me, a little bit on his credentials, Travis. He played 12 games last year, and he had 1,320 receiving yards. He had 85 receptions on 115 targets. He had 30% of his team's target share. And you talked about the touchdowns. He had 6, and he had a very nice 15.5 yards per reception. I like all of that. I think that when you look at that kind of player, there is definitely that in the NFL. I think it translates. However, I don't think that he is going to be ever or even considered the wide receiver 1 for any team because he lacks that top speed. He isn't the best catcher. He comes up with some very, very nice catches, don't get me wrong, but his hands aren't the softest, right? He runs mostly under routes, and he doesn't have the full route tree. We talked about DK's big knock was that he can only run the deep balls, and that's what his whole thing is, but you look at AJ Brown, and he really can't run the deep ones. He only runs over the middle. He runs the underneath stuff. So for me, he would be a very nice complementary player for a team. I like your Oakland Raiders, I think, with Antonio Brown there. I think that would be a nice complementary role there. He reminds me a lot of a poor man's Jarvis Landry, where he runs a lot of the underneaths. He's a tough guy. He's really gritty.
Yeah. Disrespect is real here.
Grinding it out. My best landing spot for him, Travis, would be the 49ers. I think if he goes to the 49ers, there's real potential there to be a very solid wide receiver. As you know, I'm a really big Pettis fan there, so I don't think he can overcome Pettis in that pecking order, but I do like his fit with the 49ers if he were to go there. All right, we are going to move on to our second to last guy we're going to talk about today. He happens to be my number 1 wide receiver on the board and my favorite. not just because he went to Arizona State. That is N'Keal Harry out of Arizona State, 6'2", 228 pounds, Travis. He played 12 games last year where he had 1,088 receiving yards, 73 receptions on 104 targets, 9 touchdowns, and a nice 14.9 yards per carry. Travis, let Whisper Nation know what your breakdown is, N'Keal Harry, what you saw on tape, and is that going to translate over to the NFL?
Yeah, I think he's got a real good combo of everything you want to see, but I think the biggest thing for me, breaking down tape, this guy is essentially the same size as DK Metcalf. So we're talking about DK Metcalf as this beast or this gigantic human being. N'Keal Harry is 1 inch shorter and the same weight. So he is a big, physical wide receiver. He's a competitive.
They both benched 27 times on the bench.
It's like Harry is not getting all of this because of the picture of DK Metcalf with his shirt off that makes him look like he's, the Terminator. But like for me, N'Keal Harry is a competitive guy. He's a beast in contested catch. He loves the back shoulder throw. Is he slower than DK? Yeah, just a little bit. But you're looking at a guy who still was 21st in yards per route run with 2.71. And if you look at both of these guys' Pro Football Focus grades, and if you guys don't know about how Pro Football Focus grades, they take every single play and they take every single player on that play and they grade them on that play. And then they take that and they extrapolate it out over and give them a grade on every year. And last year, you looked at N'Keal Harry get a grade of 80.3 and DK Metcalf get a grade of 70.9. So you could talk about how DK Metcalf was hurt, but it doesn't matter. They don't grade him on the injury. They grade him on every play he played. And so that, for me, is why N'Keal Harry is above DK Metcalf, even though you see a lot of mock drafts where Metcalf is going ahead of him. He's going to struggle. N'Keal Harry is a little bit in press coverage, but this is a guy that's competitive. He's going to get in with a good wide receivers coach and learn from these guys and do his studying, do his book work. I can't wait to see what team this guy lands with. You get a N'Keal Harry on the Patriots and watch out because that is the perfect marriage of a guy that's very competitive with a team that needs a wide receiver and will just completely work the hell out of their wide receivers.
Yeah, I like the going to New England. You certainly like that landing spot. The Arizona Cardinals, to me, would be, obviously, I would really like it if we got N'Keal Harry. Been kind of preaching that to the choir all year long. But even the 49ers, I really like that. The interesting thing, Travis, is they didn't really use N'Keal Harry to go deep that much. That was the one knock on him. A lot of people in the industry think that if you could take, DK Metcalf's deep ball and ability and how fast he is, and pair it with N'Keal Harry and his short game, because a lot of the time N'Keal Harry was running a lot of, quick screens, and then he would do his work and damage after the play. It's hard to bring him down, so it's kind of interesting. If you were to shape those two wide receivers together, you could get this super elite wide receiver. But I'm with you. I would definitely take N'Keal Harry over DK Metcalf, and I really like how crafty he is and elusive. He's a physical wide receiver. You mentioned it. He might struggle off the line. But people aren't 100% sure because he wasn't really tested too often with being, jammed at the line. He'll get that a lot more in the NFL, so we'll see. But he doesn't get a lot of separation from his wide receivers. But there's something really interesting that I really like about N'Keal Harry, Travis, and that's the fact that he knows how to use his body, and he's really good with his hands. So he uses his body to kind of shield off the defender, and he catches it with his hands. And that's something that you really like. That's something that, from my own backyard, Larry Fitzgerald, that's why he became so good, because he learned to get the ball with his hands, not catch it with his body, which I really love about N'Keal Harry. So my NFL comp, actually, Travis, is Anquan Bolden. He's a guy was a grinder, very competitive, loved to fight for every yard, and I see a lot of that on N'Keal Harry's tape, as well as he had very solid hands, very tough guy. So for me, like you said, New England, the Cardinals, that's a little bit biased. I'm crossing my fingers on that one. But 49ers as well. I can see all of these being very, very nice, juicy landing spots for N'Keal Harry. Here's my question to you, Travis, because this is a real legit question. probably of any of these other wide receivers. Where are you willing to take N'Keal Harry in mock drafts for redraft leagues? I've seen him go as high as the 7th round, which, depending on the situation he goes to.
Yeah.
But
it's going to have to depend on situation. But if you put him with a New England, he's definitely worth the 7th round there, in my opinion. It has to be the right fit. He's got to come in and slide right into a workable role, even as a number 2 or as a number 1 with a team. So New England's good. I did like the 49ers as a possible landing spot. Green Bay, Green Bay's sitting there with 2 first-round picks. If they make a move for one of these wide receivers, you could be looking at some real profitable anybody that. So N'Keal Harry, I really like the A.J. Brown as a slot guy possibility for Green Bay, but we'll save that for another show after the draft, hopefully, and move on to our next guy, Johnny Terry McLaurin out of Ohio State, 6'0", 208 pounds. This is probably our most raw talent of today's show. He's probably the guy, he's sitting here at the bottom, hey, wait for me, guys. Talk about me a little bit. He's a special teams kind of guy, where he has that special teams background. So that means he's got that work ethic. He's willing to do the dirty work. He's willing to do what it takes to get on the roster. He ran a 4.35 40, Johnny. And kind of an interesting stat that I liked here. He ranked 3rd in the nation in deep ball catch percentage at 71.4. So he's definitely got that part of his game, especially with the speed there. But he catches the ball with his body a lot, and that could cause problems in the NFL. You talk about these defenders that are going to be blanketed all over you. He's got to learn to catch with his hands more, get that ball out in front of him, high point it, etc. So not a great catch radius there. I don't have a lot left for him, Terry, or for him, Johnny. So why don't you break him down a little bit more for Whisper Nation?
All right, yeah. So you're looking at a guy who he played 12 games last year. He only had 701 receiving yards on 35 receptions on 46 targets, which is a little head scratching, right? He had something that jumps off the page here, 11 touchdowns, which is insane. You're talking about practically one every 3 receptions. This guy pretty much goes for a touchdown, which is crazy. Don't expect that to continue. But my question here is a lot like the DK Metcalf question, right? Why, if this guy is so good, why wasn't he targeted more? Why weren't you trying to get the ball to him? And this really makes me wonder about what we're getting here, right? And I think that's why he's falling in drafts, unfortunately. He had a wonderful Senior Bowl where he really killed it, and that was when a lot of people started turning their heads toward this guy and saying, hey, maybe there's really a diamond there. Yeah,
I think that Senior Bowl is the reason why we're talking about him in this show, the reason why he's the 5th guy, that he crept up into this grouping of wide receivers up here.
Right.
Because of that showing.
Something that I like, Travis, is the fact that he hasn't missed a game in the last 3 years. So he's pretty durable. He's got nice size and speed with toughness and athleticism. He is an excellent route runner after the catch. He only had 9% of his team's target share, which is that is just insane to me, especially when you say he had 11 touchdowns, Travis. 11 touchdowns on 9% target share. It's insane. He's a great blocker. He's
Will Fuller.
Yeah, exactly. That's my NFL comp. I think that Will Fuller is someone. I don't think he can be a wide receiver 1, but I think he's going to be a great wide receiver 2 for a team. He's a great locker room guy. Everyone raves about him, says he's great in the locker room. He just cheers people on. He, a motivational guy. So to me, I really, really like him a lot. And I think, and dare I say it, out of the top 5 wide receivers that we mentioned on today's show, I actually think he has the highest ceiling. Why? Because he is kind of like an under-the-radar guy, and these are the types of guys, Travis, let's face it, these are the guys that pop off and become stars. Antonio Brown was the same way. He was a small-town guy. Everyone wants to knock him because, he didn't receive any offers coming out of college, like any D1 offers coming out of college. And then all of a sudden he plays 1 year in a community college and gets all these offers. Like scouts miss things all the time, and I think that they could be missing something here. I love this. If someone gets him on the 3rd day of a draft, kudos to them. I think they've got a stud.
Yeah, I'm excited about him to see where he lands, see what kind of fit he gets, and see if all that comes to fruition. If he can work hard enough to get to where he needs to go there.
All right, that wraps up today's show for the main part. Now we get to get into the exciting part, but first we got to check over with manager Chelsea, the woman behind the mirror, and let us know if we messed up on anything today, Chelsea.
I think you guys did pretty good. The one thing I did notice was that Deshaun Jackson is not 6 foot.
Oh, what is?
He's 5'10".
Oh,
I'm
nice.
5'10". I'm very well aware of who else is 5'10" in this world, and Deshaun Jackson is one of us.
Wow, very very nice. That's surprising to me. Even on the field, he looks 6 feet.
I mean, it could.
Well,
be
that was the
he
draft
came
profile.
out of college at 6 foot, and he is now 5'10". That doesn't happen?
Does that happen?
2 inches.
It's like I woke up out of bed, I'm 5'11", but today on my Hinge profile, I'm going to put that I'm 6 foot. So is that the same thing?
Could be. And
Okay.
we know that these numbers can get inflated for different.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
kind of interesting. Anyways, that was the only thing I caught. And now I'm excited to talk about Game of Thrones for sure.
Mhm.
All right, so let's get into this section. Play a little. Can we just say how awesome, like, how? Sorry.
Hey, don't-
Technical.
You could play it on repeat, and
Just-
I would be fine.
Yeah. How dope is that? The violin little solo breakdown right there. Classic.
Yeah, I mean, that's not what I was thinking of. I thought you were just going to say the song's great, but yeah, that's cool.
Oh, the
I
song
love
is
the
great.
violin.
Yeah, the song's
Yeah.
great, but that violin is like.
No, but really shout out to Game of Thrones like soundtrack, especially
Oh.
season 6. Like that, this show is incredible. But
Yep.
yeah,
And now we're diving in. So you both know that we're recording today, just hours before the premiere
Woo.
of season 8.
That's what I'm
starts.
talking about.
The show you'll all be listening to in a post Game of Thrones season 8 episode 1 world. So lucky to all these listeners right now, you have seen the first episode of Game of Thrones. But we're going to do a little predictions. I have some questions for Johnny and Travis. And I'm curious, the ultimate question. I want to hear you both answer. Who will sit on the Iron Throne?
Travis, you want to go first?
go for it, Johnny.
I believe it will be Jon Snow sitting on the Iron Throne at the end of the day.
Sorry, you mean Aegon Targaryen.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Don't discredit him with,
Wow, dude.
with saying his,
Okay.
Wow.
his
Unreal, dude.
whatever.
Unreal. No
I'm
one
gonna take
knows
the
him as that,
unpopular
okay?
Opinion here. I don't think anyone's going to sit on the Iron Throne. I think that pretty much a lot of people are going to die, and maybe King's Landing is going to go into ruin. Essentially, there might be some people that survive this great battle, and they end up taking up home in the north and kind of going from there. But I think King's Landing is done. I think if you look at it, like all the people that are there, Cersei's killed everybody that really matters there, except for herself and like her people. All the common folk are there. I don't think that.
Yeah.
I think that city's pretty much done.
Nice. On that note, who doesn't die? I try to think of this question in a million different ways, but I guess by the end of the show, who do you think is still standing? Do you think there'll be a Stark as Warden or King of the North? Do you think, how many Targaryens are left? Who do you think is left standing as we see that closing scene at the end of the season?
Travis, you want to go first?
Yeah. I think Arya lives. I think she's gone through so much, and the whole thing has been the plight with her with death and life, and she's done a lot of work to be in the face of death all the time, which would make you think like she's gonna die. But I think the essential twist to that is no, she lives, and she can get all these faces all the time. So I think that I think Arya makes it through, and I think we're talking about a Stark. I think that she makes it through. I was actually thinking the other day, I think that Cersei could live.
Oh.
Everybody keeps saying that because everybody keeps saying she's going to die, right? And so my thing was like, oh, that would be the ultimate. like F you to all these people that want to see her die is that she lives. And I know that we've had a lot of wins in the last 2 years, especially since they've gone away from the books, or the books haven't been like they got past the books.
Right.
So since then, we've had a lot of wins, a lot of good wins, and we're feeling good about where we're going. You know, Jon Snow's not a bastard anymore, and he's with Daenerys, and all this stuff is great. You know, our only real big loss in the last couple of years has been the dragon. So, like, for me, I'm like,
what? Hodor? Hodor.
Well, oh, sorry. But that was season 5.
Yeah.
Either way. For me, I think Cersei would be a real FU. So I think that
would be really interesting. Gosh, this is a really difficult question.
Well, you already said Jon's going to sit on the Iron Throne, so wouldn't you think that Jon survives?
Yeah, but here's what okay. So Game of Thrones, they released the soundtrack, and apparently there's supposed to be like a lot of hints as to what's going on in the season. And one of the songs is the "Don't Let Me Live, Don't Let Me Die," and I think that refers to Jon Snow. And I have an eerie suspicion that Jon Snow, because he's always been this guy who's like, let me try to make peace, which is great. Like, I think that's great. But I think he's going to try to make peace with the
Night King?
The Night King, and he's going to say,
doesn't talk,
You
bro.
can't make peace with the Night.
But he's going to say, I mean, if the guy shakes his hand, makes the deal, it doesn't matter. You don't need to speak, okay? Here's what I'm saying.
His hand, he turns into a White Walker. What kind of deal?
I think that's the deal. I think Jon Snow will say, I will turn into you can turn me into a White Walker, but leave the people alone, and we'll take this land or whatever. We'll go somewhere else. I think that's what he'll do.
It first here, folks.
Yeah, that's what my prediction is. So, but I think that I think he leaves Daenerys. Now that would change my previous answer, but I don't know. I think
we don't know. We clearly don't know. Okay. 2 more questions.
Okay.
Whose character reunion are you looking forward to most? We, in season 7, just got like mounds and mounds of characters getting to reunite and come back together. In season 8, we have a few more that are anticipated. Who are you most looking forward to seeing together on screen again?
All right. Well, I gotta. If I don't mention this, then my wife would be Jade would be pretty upset. Gentry and Arya. A lot of people want that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But me personally, I want Brianna Tarr and
Tormund?
No, not Tormund. And Jaime Lannister. I want those two to reunite and have a child, and then that is the person. Yeah.
Wow, that escalated. They just meet again and they have a kid.
Dude,
right
they
there.
are in love. Okay.
There's not a time really to like bringing kids in right now. Like the Walkers are there.
You never know. Anything could happen.
I think obviously the sap in me wants to see Arya and Jon Snow together. Obviously, the Jon Snow and Sansa was really good, really tugged on the heartstrings. And I just wish Bran wasn't so serious. Bran is my favorite character, so I just love the way that Bran's character has gone. But Bran and Jon, I wanted to see too, because if you remember when Jon said goodbye to Bran, it was like that really heated exchange with Jon and Catelyn Stark by the bedside with Bran, and Ned showed up there. And Catelyn's like, I want you to leave, when he was trying to say goodbye to Bran.
Right.
And so I really would love to see that, but like Bran has no emotion anymore. So I really don't know if that scene's going to pay off the way I wanted to. So
yeah, he might just say like, oh, you're going to die.
No, I think there's a part in the trailer where he's talking to someone and he says everything you've done in this life has led you here to home, and I think that's when he's talking to Jon.
Oh,
I think
interesting.
That's what Bran's gonna say, but maybe we'll see. Maybe we'll see. Maybe you guys already know. You're listening right now, and you are. He walks in the door, and John walks in the door, and Bran's like, "Yeah, you just banged your aunt, dude."
Yeah,
Sorry.
right.
Like right off the bat, like doesn't
Like,
even ease him in.
The first thing, yeah. Oh man, that's great.
Okay,
All
one
right.
last question. It's kind of a buzzer beater. I'm just curious to see who will answer it first. What do we say to death?
Not today.
Yeah.
Wait, sorry. Repeat the question. I had no snare in my headphones.
Oh yeah, sure.
I didn't.
Likely story.
No,
likely
I'm
story.
serious. I had no snare in my headphones.
What do we say to death?
Oh. Why, hello.
Not today.
Why, hello. That's what we say.
Hello.
Johnny is on Team White Walker. Everybody. It's so clear.
No, it's just like, no, I'll be honest with you. After I rewatched the end part, or like the last episode, and like, realistic, let's be real here. How on earth is this going to happen? Like, even if you get all the dragon glass that you could possibly mine.
It's the dragons, right? It has to be the dragons.
It's got to be that.
That's
or
the only.
here's
That's your only way to win.
Okay, here I got a question for you two, for Chelsea and for Travis. All right, and Jade and I were talking about this yesterday. Obviously, the dragon is going to have to die by the contraption that they made, right? The bit that they originally. Yes. Who do you think? So they're going to make a big arrow that has dragon glass on it, right? And that's how they're going to have to beat. Okay. Who do you think is going to shoot that? Who do you think is going to be the person who shoots
Jamie?
that? See, that's what I think. I think Jamie.
Well, because look, Jamie can't really fight all that well anymore. So
Right.
because with the one, so give him something he can do that's really big. I like that.
he couldn't do that. There was an episode where he couldn't. He told Braun to go do it.
Right.
Because he only had one hand.
Right.
Yeah.
So
But
that
Maybe he
Hands
does
of
it
fire.
still. Maybe they load it for him or whatever.
yeah.
Well, I really buy into the, like, so much has been made about the way that Bran can warg. And so I really think we're going to see some really intense stuff there. Like maybe he wargs into a dragon.
That would be dope.
They also made a big deal about how he was the only one who could warg into other like beings, humans.
Oh yeah.
So, like, what's going on there?
Yeah,
What
that
is he
could be
gonna do?
interesting. And isn't it in the books? Can't Jon Snow also warg?
Well, I think a lot of them can warg in the books, like the Starks. It's like in their blood. Like I think Arya in the books can. I think,
Interesting.
yeah. I
Okay.
think there's a lot of stuff there.
All right.
Man,
Well,
what a great show.
yeah, that was awesome. Thank you so much, Chelsea, for the questions. Hey, Whisper Nation, if you watched last night and now you're listening to our show, or you haven't watched it yet and you want to answer the questions, let us know. What do you think of Travis and I's response? Do you agree with us? Disagree? What are your opinions? We want to know. And as always, please like and subscribe on the video and follow us on all social media platforms. But if that's too complicated, like you're just like, oh, that's too many things, I have to just go to thefantasywhispers.com, and we have all the links on our homepage to all of our social media, as well as we're constantly putting up new stuff. We've got new articles coming out. We got Stepmom Lauren just put out an article for us, and we just Travis, you want to tell Whisper Nation what we just?
Yeah, really excited about our man over in Philadelphia, Chase Buck. He is a brand new writer for the Fantasy Whispers. Going to come on this, probably do some daily fantasy guide to help you guys out for those first timers playing daily. And he's got all sorts of other articles that he wants to put out. And so we're going to get that ball rolling, and we're excited to bring him on the team. If any of you are aspiring writers for fantasy football and want to get in touch with us and talk to us a little bit about maybe contributing to this awesome thing we've got going here, let us know. Slide in those DMs, message us. And as Johnny said, you can find a lot of this information at thefantasywhispers.com.
All right. Until next time, that's Big Travy. I'm Johnny Game Time Hicks, and that's Chelsea, the woman behind the mirror, Chelsea Lee Byers.
Where is this mirror?
What?
Where's the mirror?
It's wherever you want it to be.
All right.
All right. So until next time, we are the Fantasy Whispers. Take it easy, Whisper Nation. We're out. Peace.
Thank you for listening to the Fantasy Whisperers podcast. You can hear more from John and Travis on Google Play, SoundCloud, and iTunes. You can also follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at TF Whisperers.